Okay, here we go. Trig unit number 4, day 4, double angles and half angles. You'll see a lot of formulas. You get this formula sheet for your test, so don't worry about memorizing them. If you're going to take calculus, you will see the double angle formulas, sometimes in Calc 2. And so, you can worry about it then. All right, so assume that theta is a positive acute angle and that sine of theta is 8 over 17. And they're asking us to find, hey, what would sine double theta look like? So we don't even know what theta is to begin with, so how can we double it, right? So let's talk through this. We don't really need to think too much about it. We just need to decide what formula to use. I see sine 2 theta, I see sine 2a alpha, and here's my formula I'm going to use. Instead of the a, I'm going to have the theta, right? So I'm going to have 2 sine theta, cosine theta. And so we're like, well, we do know what sine theta equals. It's 8 over 17, right? So a 2 is a 2, right? Sine theta is 8 over 17. And now we have to know what's cosine theta. And so to do that, we're going to have to use right triangle trig, right? Because we don't know who theta is, so how are we going to find the sine of it? So here we go. Here's theta right here. And this theta has sine equal to 8 over 17. So our 8's going to go here, right? Because sine is opposite of hypotenuse. And we know this is a Pythagorean triple. It's 8, 15, 17. Regardless of if you remember that or not, you've got your calculator for this part of the test. You've got your yellow calculators for this part of the test. So cosine then would be adjacent over hypotenuse, which would be 15 over 17. All right, so here's where it gets a little bit tricky on delta math. If the numbers get too big for our yellow calculators, it will give us a decimal approximation, and yet delta math wants a fraction. So we're going to have to get a little clever. I'm not sure if this one we need to do it, but let's just get used to it. We would multiply the top numbers together, and we'd get the 240, and then we'd number, I don't think we would have had an issue here. We could put the whole thing in, but whatever. And then the bottom numbers, there's really a 1 here, so we don't multiply by 2. It would just be 17 by 17, 17 times 17. And that gives us a 289. And these two numbers are not, we are not going to simplify them because they can't, right? The top number's even, 5, 10, 2 goes into it, 289, what the heck? Not even 3 goes into that. And then remember our little trick for 3s, it's like 289, add up the digits. 2 plus 8 is 10, plus 9 is 19. Does 3 go into 19? Nope, then 3 does not go into 289. Versus the 240, we know 3 goes in there, 80 times. And because 2 plus 4 is 6, we would know that as well, that it's a multiple of 3. All right, so 1 down, couple more to go. Let's go. This next one, they're giving us sine, and they want us to find cosine of 2 theta. Now you're going to notice we have 3 formulas to choose from for finding cosine 2 theta. And so we just have to pick the right one. Here, they're giving us what sine theta is. So we wouldn't want to use the ones that have cosine in it, right? Like, no, why would we? That means we're going to have to make a triangle. If we just use this, then we're good to go. I did go ahead and copy what Delta Math had. Usually you don't have to complain about the way Delta Math AI does the solutions. It doesn't do a bad job here. So let's just pull down and see what it does. All right, so it's doing that. One thing I will say is just to remind you that this right here is the same thing as this. And when we see it this way, it helps us to know, oh, if sine theta is 28 over 53, then sine squared theta is just 28 over 53 squared. So that's a helpful thing to remember. And so that's what they do. They just, bring down the 1, the minus 2, they plug in the 28 over 53, and then they show us what we're going to have to do with our calculator. You can definitely square the top, square the bottom, but let's keep it separate. Don't overload those yellow calculators. So when we do this part right here, our calculator easily still keeps it in a fraction. And so what we're going to have to do if we have 1 minus this, try it. Try it out and prove me wrong, because that would be great. If you put this part in your yellow calculator, does it give you a fraction or does it give you a decimal approximation? You tell me. If it gives you a fraction, then you're good. Otherwise, we're going to have to get creative and say, I could rewrite 1, right, as 2,809 over 2,809. And then that way I have common denominators. When we subtract our common denominator just comes along for the ride, right? So baby math, if I was doing 1/4 plus 2/4, right, it would be 3, add the top, but the bottom just comes along for the ride. Versus if I did 1/4 times 2/4, that's when we're multiplying both the tops and the bottom, right? We have 2 on the top, 4 times 4 is 16, and we reduce. Now, this is baby math, and if you're not listening to me and just watching, you're probably like, what? Why did she just do all that? Okay, so let's go back to AI, and they did the math for us, and they subtracted, and there we go. This is how Delta Math wants it in fractional form. All right, let's do one more. So now we've got, they give us cosine theta. They want us to find cosine 2 theta. So once again, we have 3 formulas to choose from. Are we going to pick one of them that has sine in it? No. Now, could we make a right triangle and find what sine is? Yes, but do we want to? No. So we're going to bloop, cross through that, and bloop, cross through that. And the one we're going to use is the one that just has cosine in it. So here we go. We're going to use 2 cosine squared theta minus 1. And here's just a reminder that we're going to go ahead and write that this way. It just helps us to know how to plug things in. So we're going to have 2, and then we're going to have 20 over 29 minus 1. And then we're going to have to do some, squared. Can't forget the squared. And so then we're going to go ahead and, why am I doing the minus 1, 1 minus 2 sine squared? Uh-oh. Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm looking at my notes going, wait, what did I do? I'm good. And so if we do this part separately and then we subtract the 1, we end up with negative 41 over 841. And that can't simplify at all. Neither one of them, they're not even, they're 5 or 10 or 3. None of that goes. And so we're going to leave it like that, put it in Delta Math, and we are good to go. Okay, I'm just going to check. Okay, we're good. Let's go. So now we have half angles. You don't need to memorize them. You're going to have this formula sheet for the test. You just need to know how to use them. You'll notice that, we go back to the other page, the double angles. I didn't do a tan example because you get it, right? All right, we are just picking a formula and going with it. So here we go, half angle formulas. We've given cosine, and we want to know what cosine of what half the angle is. We're just going to simply use the formula, and I don't have it up here, but there's a formula plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine. I'm going to use y here, even though I hate that they use y as an angle, but whatever, we're gonna go with it. 1 plus cosine y over 2, and we're just going to plug and simplify. That's all we're going to do. And so we've got the square root. Oh, note that it said positive value. So normally we have a plus or minus in front of our formula, but it says nope, don't do the minus, just the plus. All right, so we're going to plug in. We've got 1 plus 1 over 5 all over 2. Now you are going to have your calculator for this, so you could put this whole thing into your calculator and it will simplify it for you. Otherwise, you're just going to change 1 to 5 over 5, right? If you wanted to do this in your head, that would be square root of 6 over 5 over 2, which is 6 over 10, which is, just have your calculator do it. Why am I doing all this? Anyways, split it up into, I'm just going to keep going. And then, of course, rationalize your denominator. But once again, you're going to have your calculator. You do not need to do all of that by hand. All right, let's do one more. Let's see. So we're going to have cosine B, and I may be wrong. Do we have our calculators? Do we need our calculator for this? Yeah, we do need our calculator for this. For the double angles, for sure. This part's going to be in the calculator part. All right, so we've gotten cosine, and then we want to know find tan. All right, there are 3 formulas for tan. Are we going to pick the one with sine in it? No, we are not. We've got cosine is equal to 1/2, And so we're going to pick the one that just has the cosines in it. And we're just going to plug in and simplify, or really just pick up our calculator, right? So we're going to have the square root of 1 minus a half over root 3 over 2. Oh, I need to stop for a second. Hold on one second. I'm going to pause and come back. Okay. So, I don't know why, but on my notes, I ended up using one with sign in it. So I'm like, why does my work look different? All right. So let's just keep going. We have 1 plus 1/2, and pick up your calculator. You don't have to do this by hand like I'm doing. But if you do, we've got a big fraction. My 2's cancel out, right? Square root of 1 over 3, root 3. That's square root of 1, which is 1 over root 3. Rationalize, and you end up with what? Square root of 3 over 3. Okay, I think that's it. You're going to be good. And see you in